Hey Nick, thanks for jumping in here and trying to save the day in a sense and prevent Gary and I from rehashing the same arguments over and over and over again. But I kind of see where you're coming from, and I will agree that we're basically arguing over conventions. You know how best to use and define certain words, and it doesn't have much to do with the actual phenomenon that we're trying to understand. Um, but we can't just completely turn language into this vacuous, meaningless, um, silly game where no word has a specific meaning. I mean, certainly there's some wiggle room, but if words didn't have meanings that we understood, then if there wasn't some stability to it and some reason for choosing certain words over other words, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. There wouldn't be civilization. There couldn't be science if symbols and signs could not be tied down and used in appropriate ways. But putting that aside for a moment, I think what's really being argued here is whether we know enough scientifically, whatever that means, in order to make certain conclusions, like what Gary has made, that basically it's a pretty shitty system, and that the only way, I think his point is the only way we can fix it is by recognizing it as completely retarded and evil almost, or evil actually. I mean, he's attributing um, agency to nature, not the way a spiritual person would say that it's beautiful, and it's God, displaying goodness and beauty and whatnot. But it's, he sees nature as Satan, basically. And, you can definitely see that he has a hatred for um, some type of personification of nature that he has devised in his mind. And, I think that's. I can't really argue him out of that, so that's his perspective, but he can't use what's supposed to be the truth, the scientific knowledge that we have. He can't use that to support his particular perspective on nature. Um, you know, Science doesn't have much to say in regards to whether nature is good or evil. It remains completely out of that debate. And as far as what we know scientifically, I think it's interesting that when you talk to a scientist um, who isn't in the middle of some culture war, like if you ask Richard Dawkins how sure he is about how evolution works in the context of teaching evolution or creationism, of course, he'd be like, it's not a theory, we know it's a fact and it's true, but if he knows that you accept the general gist of the story of evolution and you start asking a specific question, he's gonna be very much open, in regards to saying, well, I don't know, we're doing research here, and we're not quite sure about that. So, and an example I could give as well would be tonight. I saw Brian Greene, the theoretical physicist, speak, um, and he's a string theorist, and he was asked point blank, okay, so everything is made of these little vibrating filaments of what? What are they? What are they made of? And he, you know, sat back and basically said, I don't know. It didn't base. That's what he said. He said, I don't know. Um, and a lot of his answers tonight to these very, very deep questions were, I don't know. And I think that's true of most scientists, that they are engaged in the practice of science because they want to know more, because they understand the tremendous amount of mystery that remains Otherwise, they wouldn't be involved in science. If we knew enough, there wouldn't be any reason to be so passionate about wanting to know more. And I think Gary has the wrong image of science. And I think that's the core of his argument, that science is about finding out certain facts that are eternally true, completely objective, and they'll never be questioned once they've been laid down. And that's just not the history of science, and doubtless won't be the future of science. Um, you know, but your points about language are well taken, and certainly I would agree that looking at an amoeba or any single-celled organism and saying that it has wants and desires is a bit of a projection of our human way of understanding these words onto something that's not human. It's other than human. But putting words aside, I think it's possible to empathize with these creatures in a way. I mean, when you look under the microscope at them, or look at them under the microscope, you can, in a non-linguistic, completely, non-verbal way, you can intuit that there is feeling there. That would be my argument, that maybe the words aren't there to describe it as accurately as we would like to, but it displays intention, it moves with purpose, and it's as though it has an inside, like when you look at a human being, you don't, unless you're a philosopher who's thinking about these abstract thought experiments, you don't see them as a zombie. They have an inside, they have experience, they're conscious, they have thoughts and wishes and imagination and so forth, and you treat them like that, just naturally. It's your instinct to see another human being in that way, and I think we have a similar instinct that allows us to see all life in that way, as though it has an inside. I don't just mean an inside, beneath the skin. I mean it experiences something. There's something it's like to be that. That would be my argument, at least. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for interjecting. Have a good, I guess it's morning for you over there, so take it easy.